Okay, hello. Today we're going to be looking through a bunch of PRs for the FreeMoCap Blender add-on. Trying to do just kind of like a blitz of reviewing because old AJC's been hard at work and I've been slacking on this part. I've done other stuff. Okay, so we're kind of starting here with the initial working solution for attaching scaly mesh for vertex groups, where this is basically like an overhaul of the way that we attach the mesh, the scaly mesh, to the basic data. So it's a significant change, and that's the kind of the big one, I think. And then these other ones I think are smaller changes. Multiple capture support, which is like basically fixing a bug that made it hard. It's always been supposed to be able to do this, but it was like a bug making it stop. And this is allowing you to load multiple recordings into the same scene, which is obviously useful for, if you're like making animation or if you're scientifically trying to compare across conditions. There you go. And then a couple of shifts in logic and additional constraints and stuff like that. So I've already kind of looked through them. They do work, and let's get into it. I looked through the first one. I haven't looked through the rest of them. Okay, so let's start over. I have keyboard shortcuts for Alt-B, Alt-B, and open Blender 4.3, and now I have this Blender instance which is connected to the VS Code debugger, which is very convenient. Okay, thank you. It's not showing my screencast keys. It is, it's just not enabled. Sure. Okay, so hide that and FreeMoCap. Clear scene, load data, stuff zips on by. And okay, so we're missing something. Someone's not happy about the pelvis, which there was also a PR about the pelvis, but we'll see about that. And approach to attaching the mesh part. This part. Anyways, whatever. To that part has changed. And let's see, what order of operations do I want to go in? I'm gonna look at the code in a little bit. But for now, I'm gonna say a few things about the mesh itself. First of all, it looks great. Let's see. There we go. And let's hide you. Nice. And so it looks good. Looks nice. Efficient use of the geometry of the mesh looks really nice, and I like the level of detail that it keeps. A few things I noticed. So I just noticed this error coming up saying that it's missing like the pelvis end mesh. What's it called? Not mesh. Vertex group. Yeah. So another tour of this. There is a cat slinking around, so I'm working around that. So we have. So the mesh is here, and so basically the scaling and placement. Oh, that was a cat. Okay, buddy. So the scaling is done by selecting parts of the mesh by vertex group instead of having a bunch of individual meshes for each bone. Which requires, I think, some more delicate handling of the data to make that work right. But ultimately I think it's going to be much easier to kind of like debug and get into because there was a bunch of like just little problems with the skeleton in the previous version, like the knees didn't line up right and stuff like that, and it was just difficult to do that kind of debugging when the stuff was separated. But with this, it's all together, so we can look straight at it. And yeah, so obvious things like, all the rifts are merged in the same place. I think if we just add like an offset parameter to the bone mesh sort of definitions, like I think we can fix that. And also something about like the chest and clavicle parts could probably get handled that way. We're just basically whatever object is defining the mesh positions can just have an offset parameter, and it'll be 0, 0, 0 by default. And it's just like, how much should we move the origin from the parent origin? And I think that would do it. But yeah, anyways, the other thing of note is, I noticed that the heel is kind of off. So actually, I don't know how to do this. The search guy's there. Oop, I say heel, select heel. Yeah, so that's the heel, as perhaps you've noticed. Come on. Hey. Alt? Why can't I drag? I don't know. Anyway, heel origin. Yeah, so the heel's kind of up here, and like the origin is down here. Oh, sorry, the origin is in there, and the end is down there. So like there's like this like high heels look. Oof. What is going on? Why am I in this weird mouse state? Yes, a pose position. And now we can turn off. No, wait, that doesn't work for whatever reason. Yeah, anyways. So yeah, there's something, I think just probably like a little bug in what is wrong with my control view here? It's like I'm locked to something, I guess. Anyways. Yeah, so whatever's going on there, you figure that out. The other part that I was noticing is what is going on. All right, maybe we reset. Yeah, the shoulders are pretty good, but it is we talked about this in our community hang in the server on Fridays at 11 Eastern US. Let's see, what am I looking for? Spine. You done? You good? Okay, bye. Yeah, so that's the spine, lumbar spine, and yeah. So like the shoulder blades are sort of rigidly attached to like the torso part, which obviously limits some of that. But it's generally, I think it doesn't to make the elbow or the shoulders more real. It's like a more complex setup that has like the shoulder blade moving like semi-independently of the torso, but not fully on its own. Handling things like the clavicle. But well, like we can get there, but like once you see how like the clavicle's kind of popped up here, like. I think to make that work right, you have to start going like kind of beyond the data itself, which is fine. And that's kind of the job of the mesh. Like this is the data. That's the data that we recorded and calculated and computed and cleaned and all that stuff. And this is like an animation on top of that. That's meant to represent like what's the word? Hypothetical possible estimates of bone location relative to recorded data. So, I think that we can, someday someone will come along who says, boy, I sure do love shoulders and the complex dynamics thereto pertaining. I guess mechanics more than dynamics, but yeah. And to that person I say, pull up, I suppose. Other ways, other things to think about. The skull itself is also rotated up, it seems. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Can I say... Can I do this? Can we be... That's not really helpful. Yeah, so like the eyes, that's the eye. Wait, okay. I want to hide... I gotta like, I want to see the empty names behind there. Is it down here? Can I do that? Viewport display? Name? Anyways, actually you can kind of see the dots there. So this is the eye. That's the eye. And see, they're kind of like, they're below. So the eyeball should be in the eye sockets. And then this is the mouth. Like these two are the mouth and those are low. So it's kind of funny because like it looks okay because like it's just rotated up. So it just kind of looks like it's just like a little bit more like wide-eyed. Like, oh, wow, look at this world. To be fair, I am kind of making that look in the back, but it's not as up. So it just needs to be like rotated down or something like that. The skull is by far the most complex sort of shape on there, but you have a lot of points to align it to. So, you know, the skull always kind of needs to be handled carefully. And I guess especially once I was thinking about like once you start putting the face animations on it, but that actually won't affect it because that's just, the animations are like flat, like, or like on top of the skull mesh, I guess. I don't know. Maybe someday we'll have to just have like a separated head that's kind of attached, but we'll figure that out. And the other thing that I want to note is the femurs are kind of kicked out. Actually, there's a nice reference tool for this, Z anatomy, which unfortunately seems like might just, I don't know if it's such a cool project, but it doesn't seem like it's being actively maintained. Oh, I guess maybe they're doing something. Well, yeah, they're thinking about doing something, but it's got this kind of like, yeah, first update 9 months ago, last update 9 months ago kind of thing. But I have, where did I have this? Ugh. Oh, there it is, in a zip file. Classic. Open. I already have it, so I'm like, I just not organized well. So this is just a sort of a reference of like a anatomically very like carefully arranged human skeleton. Some of the proportions look off to me, honestly. Like this chest is too big. Like it's like one of the things that we don't get right about people. Like the chest is smaller than we tend to think. Also the face is weird and the teeth are bucked out. But anyways, yeah, this is kind of, actually they look kind of aligned, but I think that might be more straight. I don't know. That might be maybe other reference to look at. But I did also want to point this out to look at the feet. Come on. Why does that always happen? I don't understand it. Okay, can I just do this? Yeah, great, thanks. So that foot relative to foot. Get down there, buddy. Great. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just kind of like that's what we're going for. And also, oh right, that's what I wanted to point out, because I spent some time looking at these feet, and I think that the heel bone might be oriented wrong, or like non-anatomically. And I remember too, because when I was looking at the previous models, like it was hard to make sense of that heel mesh because it's such a weird little sort of just blob of a shape. Okay, so I want to go to here. I want to go to heal. I need to get into the actual code. Gotta be in edit mode. Select. Yeah. Yeah, so that relative to this, like, maybe. I don't know. It's weird because it's hard because the low poly, loses a lot of the detail, so it's hard to make sense of it. So this actually could be right. I think it just might be like scaled wrong because it might be that like you're pointing the wrong axis at the end point. Because the rest of that looks really good. It's just this one seems off. Boop doop doo. Yeah. That looks pretty similar. Actually, that looks. I can't tell. It might want to be a little bit forward. On our skelly, and also like the closer I look at the skeleton, the more I'm like maybe some of these proportions aren't totally right. Like that seems right. And that seems like he's got a little more of a sort of Star Trek deep lore Klingon skeleton sort of vibe going. It's a little overbuilt. But who knows? Also, what's up with this nose and teeth? Come on, man. Okay, but yeah, so other than that though, I mean, it works great. It works reliably, and that's the important part. And I'm gonna be done in half an hour no matter what. So let me go through the code real quick just based on what I see. Oh, and for this, I'm gonna go over to PyCharm because it is better at this type of thing. Okay, so close the tabs. I looked at where it attaches into the system as a whole. Added a bunch of new stuff there. Attached skelly mesh. Yeah. Cool. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and just break this up because this is like a strategy pattern. It's got like which one of these three options do we want to use, and so we can just pull those out into their own files just so it's a little more separated. I'm gonna have to do that right now. Okay, so got these paths, and I'm gonna just change the name to strategies because methods is a fine name, but the strategy pattern is a thing, so we get to take advantage of that. Careful. Strategies. Is this? Okay, it is, yeah. So Shift F6 to refactor everywhere. Add mesh, Shift F6. Strategy. Yeah, and so now we got the different guys, and so we'll go down here and I'll say, so attach skelly by bone mesh. So I select it and I hit F6 and I say attach skelly mesh. Let's see. Strategies / attach. I'm gonna call it skelly by bone mesh. No, let's call it what it is. Attach skelly by bone mesh .py. Hit it. Great. Attach skelly by complete mesh. Is that the old one? Yeah, that's the old one. So yes, we started with like take the whole mesh and sort of stretch it to fit, and that got okay, but obviously it's not ideal. It's partial, you know, as you would expect. And so when we moved, we said, oh, let's split it apart into individual bones, and we'll sort of fit those. And that was the one I just moved. And that also worked pretty well. But then we hit this issue of like, it's hard to get those kind of like, oh no, this needs to be like slightly rotated debugging stuff sorted just because everything's all split up. And that's this one. So F6. And now we have that folder from prior, right? Strategies. And wait, what? It's by full mesh. Okay. You gonna let me do that? No, you're not. C, cancel. And now the illustrious attached skelly by vertex group, which is the current one. So you don't need to do the return there. You know, I could understand it from a stylistic perspective of just like wanting to be obvious about it, but it automatically returns none if it ends. So it's an opportunity to have the code base be one line shorter. Oh, and with PyCharm, this move thing with F6, which is super helpful, by the way, if you weren't aware of it. If it's the last thing in the file, you have to make sure to leave at least one line below it. Otherwise, it doesn't do that. By the way, this is PyCharm Professional, but you can get the community one and nothing would be different at this level. F6. And wait, what do we call that one again? So grab that again. Still in the thing? Nope. And Windows. Fine. Wait, what am I doing? F6. Oh, we can make this better. We'll get better. Right. Nice. Okay, so yeah, so now we have this and one F1 and strategies. So strategies and helpers, maybe that's a little bit weird, but I actually don't mind that. That seems fine to me. And let's go in here. Let's look at the guy itself. So we can do better than this, I think, in terms of the type hinting. First of all, we no longer have to do the special typing, thankfully. We can just say dict. And then this is probably going to be strings by list. It thinks, but I don't know what that is. So I'm not going to try to figure it out on the fly, but we can. And then this is probably strings by up and break up skelly mesh. Yeah, sure. Okay. Cool. That was the main one I wanted to look through and kind of like have this kind of like log of my thoughts or whatever on the topic. We got that community hang thing in 40 minutes, and I want to like have at least a little bit of time to combobulate before that. So I'm going to try to blast through the other ones because I doubt they'll require as much attention because I think they're smaller changes. So multiple capture support. I am excited about this one. This is one of those like little things that I think has been missing. Okay, so, and I think, yeah, so you're feeding that in by that. Oh, you're keying by that data parent empty. Okay, so a lot of stuff there. I am gonna have to. Oh, we changed the UI a little bit. I am gonna have to look closer at this stuff. Oh, I guess I should say for the other PR. 1 second. For the other PR, is it ready to merge? It probably could be. I think if you're in the meeting later, we can talk about it. But I think because I know that you're busy with other stuff going on. So da, 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 da. If it's the kind of thing of like, oh yeah, I don't have time to really work on that in like the near future, then we can just merge it. I think because I think the version that exists there is better than what we currently have. But if it's like the changes to like the heel marker and like I think the hips, if we can look at them, and what else? Oh, the skull being rotated. If that's like something you can kind of look into real quick, then that, you know, I don't think that's something I would be in a position to really fix myself because I didn't really like fully like internalize how you are doing the placement there. But if that's something could be like, oh yeah, let me just like scrub that out and fix it, then we should just do that and then merge it. But if that's not going to happen in a hurry, then we can just merge it and then do another little quick fix later. In general, too, I think that we're probably about ready to start the conversation around like migrating to the new Skelly Blender repo and new architecture, because that mesh thing was kind of the thing that stopped me in the previous like refactor attempt, the rabbit hole branch. As I got to that like mesh placement stuff, and I realized that I wasn't equipped to really like do the polishing to make it look right with the system that we had. So now that we have this new system and we can do that polishing, it might be time to start like building the new architecture and, you know, converting this over into the new thing, which I think won't be that much, famous last words, but you know, the mesh definition thing was kind of that was the thing that in my mind I was imagining as the thing that was holding us back from doing that. Sorry, Peter chair. So yeah, we'll talk about it. All right, this one I'm for sure going to need to like look closer at it because there's more going on here than I can kind of just like eyeball. But scanning wise, this is all UI stuff, so and this might just be this is just formatting. Is it? And I saw that you're refactoring this in some future guy, so scope data. Scope. So the term scope, I'm not sure if that's the right name, the right word. What would it be? Scope. Why are we calling it scope? Scope, like the scope. Because it's like defining. I mean, the parent is defining kind of like the top of the tree, so it's kind of defining the context. But I think, I don't know, just data parent, like Penti. I don't know. Scope data parent, like within this scope. I don't know. Leave it. We'll figure out. I'll have an opinion about it. Someone else have an opinion about it. I'm not sure scope is the right option, but I don't know what I don't have the right word in my head right now. So scope it is for now. Blah blah blah, doing this stuff. Looks like, ooh, we're regexing. Oh, haha. AI means that no one ever has to learn how regex works. We can just give that one to the machine. That's great for me. Unless you know how it works, but people know it. I believe that it's possible to learn. Perhaps I will eventually figure it out if I ask the bot to do it enough, but it's like one of those things that's like, I don't really want to figure that out. That seems like you've got that handled, Mr. Machine. Okay, UI. I guess consistency in the naming there. I'm not quite sure what's going on. There might be stylistic. Get newly attached mesh. Place the mesh. Create mesh materials. What are we doing here? Is this center mass? Oh, this I think might be like a little bit of the comp projection stuff down here, because I know you do more of it in the later PR. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense what's happening here. I just don't. I have to actually like run it to really feel like I get it. Yeah. So that all looks good. I didn't see a fix for the thing that I noticed in the previous one of the naming of the mesh being hard coded instead of like connected to the thing. I don't know if what you did here bypasses that as a problem, or if you just like didn't notice it, didn't come up in the way you were testing it, or maybe I don't know, maybe you were branching off something different. But I think we've talked about. I think you branch off the one, like if you have multiple chained PRs, I think you branch off the previous one for the next one. So I think I don't know. So I'll come back and I'll look closer at it, but it makes sense. And you know, I trust you on the UI stuff to be doing that properly. We'll see. I don't know. And I want that very much. And I'm missing this, probably small. Oh, look at him go. Oh yeah, look. Nice. Nice. 10 files changed, right? We got 10 files changed. Oh, because you're fixing up some of the naming, I guess, maybe? Cleaning up a bit from the previous one. Fine. Scope UI. Scope. Interesting. It's an interesting choice of words. Because it does like it is kind of like evocative of like a certain interpretation of what's going on there that I kind of like I see, you know, I see viewing it as scope. I don't know, maybe I'll be convinced. I'm not currently convinced, but maybe someday. Or maybe I'll just relent. UI, more data, parent stuff. So this looks like it might be pulling in some of the stuff from previous, which makes sense. It's funny, like for a while, like the growth of the free mocap community size was like really stressful. You know, still is to some extent, but like it's interesting because now it's gotten big enough that like people notice the bugs and they report them, and so it almost like relieves some of the pressure. Not almost, it literally relieves some of the pressure of realizing of like this stage of like approving the PR, because you know there was a time in this project where I was like, oh my god, if we approve the PR and there's a bug, it might go hidden forever. Now people like notice and they're like, hey, this was a problem, this thing doesn't work right. Like I just pushed that update where like someone Larap was pointing out, it's like, hey, there's like, you know, like the data regressed from version this to the version that. It's like, oh shit, like the bug fix. So it's just fun to, and you know, also like all the relevant parties of people who like regularly contribute to this project, you know, most like Philip and Andres and Aaron, and you know, that's most of them, I guess. The skill levels are also going up, so it's sort of like I have more trust in the work, which is wonderful because I'm so tired. And like, and the feedback gets more high level at that point, you know, because it's more like, hey, here's this like stylistic, strategic kind of like cleanliness thing versus like, oh, hey, your for loop has a has a broken logic. It's like, oh yeah, be careful about your globals and your mutations and your blah blah blahs and yeah, strategy. Yeah, this seems right. What am I looking at here? Yeah, clean up of that, I guess. Is that what's happening here? Maybe you're just fixing the whole thing with regex. Maybe that's what's happening. Interesting. UI. This stuff again. Was I just looking at this? I think I might be seeing some of this. Might be some. The PRs might be tainted, which is fine. Neutral emboss. Oh, this is the color. Yeah, this is just the vertical projection stuff. and add that. Oh, you added the something. Oh, I think you mentioned that, moving that center of mass something. Okay. Yeah, adding that to the clear method. Nice. And this, there we are. So now we are in these bone constraints, and this is the star of the show, as it were. If you look at A pose, default trunk axis, locked track constraint. Locked track constraint. Track axis, lock axis. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, without being able to like run it, I could, but I'm not going to right now. It looks right. I added a third bone constraint to the pelvis. I was rotating in 2 axis. In some movements, it looked unnatural. It can be noticed in the same capture. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Okay. I'm not going to approve it yet before I run it, but it looks correct. Boop, 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 boop. And then this looks like just, UI stuff. The most impressive. So now it has a target. So choose the object. Ah. Nice. Nice. Within the scope of the data parent. Yeah, see? Right, because that is, that's, okay. I'm convinced. I've been convinced. Because it's like, now the operations and the UI and all the things that have to be done, they are scoped within that data parent object. And so now it's kind of like, it's really kind of baking in that concept of like, you select that point, and then now all the operations that you're doing are relative to that data. I'm convinced. You have convinced me. Great work. I like this too. Again, I need to, 17. I don't think I have the mental energy to go through this right now. I can see where is it all in the UI? No, there's some changes here. I think there's some overlap here, because wasn't this in the previous one? I think these two PRs might be kind of overlapping. Or maybe it's just judging them relative to main. Oh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe because it's kind of cumulative. I don't know. Anyways, I think it'll probably either it will work out in the wash or it will be a pain and we have to figure it out. Either way, it'll work out. Because I think we can probably, after we talk, if it's all good, I could probably just merge them all into one main thing and then test that. Or just push it into, I can merge it all into main and test it there, because it doesn't actually become a problem elsewhere until I bump the version in free mocap, and or until I generate a new add-on version. Yeah, nice. Yeah, nice. Thanks to DeepSeek, nice. Yeah, this is the classic sort of thing. Like, this is a really good use of AI, I think. It's sort of just like, hey, I got this working with this package. Can make this work without this package. Works. Which, no disrespect to SciPy and Shapely. It's just like in Python, in Blender, it's having stuff in native functions is just preferable. BOS works multiple capture, but it needs to be added when the data is empty. So, okay, I think that's probably fine. Is it? Oh, it's not perfect, but it's fine. And then depends on. This is some. There's some automations in GitHub around like language like this. I'm not sure if you're doing it in that precise way, but sort of like, oh no, that's in the projects. It's like you can have like this one depends on that one, sets up some kind of automation at the project level. We're not doing projects right now. 21 files changed. I want to be done. I'm tired. Okay. Like clockwork at 1 hour or 40 minutes still. I'm still tired. Yeah, there's for sure. I think that the diffs here are being defined relative to main, so the cumulative work is it's kind of confusingly separated. I think, I don't know what the solution is there. There probably is a way to do that with the PRs to kind of like. I think you referenced the previous one rather than referencing main. I think that's the fix, but I'm not 100%. in any case, I'm not stressed about it. And if we get to talk in 20 minutes, then we'll just we'll chat through it, and then we'll just like I'll merge it down. Honestly, I'm inclined to just merge them all now, but I will wait, just in case there's anything I'm missing. And then merging them to main makes it easy. I'll merge them all to main and then test them on main, because main is not actually in production until we change the import stuff. Oh, monsters. I'm excited about all these things though, and also I was looking at the Butterworth filter and the footlocking YouTube videos that you posted some time ago, and I kind of I don't know, I was just not always in the best mental space in the past year. So there were a couple of times when you posted stuff and I was like, cool, but I didn't fully internalize it. But I have now, well, partially at least, and I want to revive that stuff, like the dedicated Butterworth filtering, which actually is it already in there? Is it in there? I don't think it is. Yeah, but I think. And I feel like we may have talked about it at some point of I disabled a lot of the UI with the kind of just to have the one big friendly button approach. Although we can make the buttons friendlier. I'll bet we can change. Can we change colors and stuff like that? Because at some point, from a design perspective, we're going to start. We're probably already there, struggling with visual hierarchy and figuring out what the important buttons are versus the ancillary buttons are. But whatever, we can right now it's kind of you go from the top to the bottom. It's sort of a priority list in that way. But yeah, I think I disabled a lot of that stuff, and I think I would love to kind of revive it. So I think you also had some progenitors of some stuff for retargeting too. Because I think those Butterworth filterers, the global and local Butterworth filtering was cool, and the foot locking was super cool. And I know some people that study gate, I think, who probably would be interested in that from a scientific perspective. And I know that animators are, because that's all they ever want to talk about is the foot slipping. And I know some for some gate researchers, I think probably actually for a lot of scientific people. The fact that the foot sort of constraint is kind of you're manipulating the data a little bit, but I think it's pretty reasonable to sort of consider that in the context of this is a cleanup step in the same way that a Butterworth or a rigid body rigidification is cleanup. What would that be? A foot traction constraint, a foot traction assumption that your feet are not sliding on the ground. So that will be true in all cases, except because sometimes we do slide our feet on the ground, and sometimes but also I think you're just doing the height, so it would just be for height. And you had that cool thing you could step onto things. That was super neat. So if you're doing stair climbing, you could handle that. It's also another opportunity for a residual, an error measure. So if you are on flat ground, you can do a flat ground assumption, and then someone like an Aaron who's looking for these sort of automated error metrics we can pull out of the raw data, that how far does your foot go below zero, or how far does it go above? Where are you relative to the thing that we will define to be the ground plane? Could be a residual value, that error value that sort of we can use for a bunch of reasons and purposes. But in any case, that's okay. 20 minutes until the next meeting. That's enough time to recombobulate, I believe. But yes, thank you for the wonderful work. I'm very excited to have it merged into the main affair. We'll talk about it in terms of the pieces to get it sort of finished, merged and done. But that's mostly just procedural. And we'll also talk at some point about we want to start transitioning to the new space, Skelly Blender. I do not personally have I got other stuff I got to work on in this project before I will be able to get back into Blender Town sort of aggressively. So maybe it makes sense to kind of wait until then before we start like the transition. Or maybe, I don't know. We'll see. It's not pressing because the solution's fine. It's just kind of like eventually we want it to be aligned and sort of, deprecating the AJC underscore FreeMoCap underscore blender underscore add-on thing and just make a new one called Skelly Blender so it matches the naming of the rest of the project. It's also funny. But we'll talk about it. We'll get there. But not today. Not today. Okay. Thank you. Farewell. Goodbye. Pooh's asleep in a box over there, but I don't want to bother her. I don't want to move the camera more than I don't want to bother her, but well, I both don't want to bother her and I don't want to move the camera. So you just have to kind of trust. Can you see? No, she's off.